This video will explain how to assess your population management impact using this website. Computer simulations are research tools that allow you to investigate the potential impact of an intervention. Our computer simulation allows you to estimate the effects of different neutering interventions by predicting the possible effects on dog population size and dog welfare. The computer simulation considers the interactions between street dogs, so free roaming dogs, owned dogs, and dogs in shelters. And it considers how dogs might transition between these different categories throughout their life. To assess the impact of your intervention, you must first include details of your dog population. To begin, you must first include estimates of your street, owned, and shelter dog populations and the interactions between the three. You first need to estimate how many street dogs there are. This can be calculated using the population estimation section of this website. You can also include an estimate of the number of neutered street dogs. You must also include an estimate of how many dogs are in shelters. This can be estimated using local shelter records or by your best guess of this number. And lastly, you must estimate the number of owned dogs in your population. If this is unknown, try looking up the human population size and estimating what proportion of people you think own dogs. For example, if you estimate that 50% of people own dogs, in a population of 100,000 people, there would be around 50,000 owned dogs. These estimates of population size go in the first column of input parameters. You next need to provide details of the estimated rates in which the size of these populations change and how they interact with each other. Firstly, you must select how fast you think your street dog population grows. So imagine a population without any neutering and consider whether you think that the population naturally grows quite quickly or slowly through births and through movement of dogs from neighbouring populations. Next, consider how many dogs are abandoned from homes to the street in your population. If you want to simulate an intervention that also reduces how many dogs are abandoned, select very low values in this section. Then consider how often dogs are adopted from the street to homes to become owned dogs in your owned dog population, and estimate the rate that dogs are relinquished from homes to the shelter population, as well as the rate that dogs are adopted from these local shelters. If you're unsure about any of these rates, keep them at the current values or change them around to see the effect on the resulting population size. In the last column, you must include details of your planned intervention. Firstly, decide whether you'd like to simulate an intervention that neuters a percentage of the intact population, for example, 50% per year, or an intervention that neuters a set number of dogs, for example, 1,000 dogs per year. You then either use the slider to decide what proportion of the population you aim to neuter over the length of 1 year, or you include the number of dogs that you aim to neuter per year or per month. If you're using the first option, option A, ensure that you keep in option B the number at 0. You then need to select how long you plan on carrying out your intervention, so how many years of continuous neutering, and then over what timeline you plan to conduct this, either continuously, so an ongoing intervention where dogs are neutered every week or every month, or in one neutering campaign per year. And finally, how long would you like to run the simulation for? This can go beyond the length of time you plan to carry out your neutering intervention to see what happens to the population after this point. When you have included all of this information, you need to click Simulate Results to run your computer simulation. You should allow about a minute or so for the simulation to run, and then you will be presented with graphs and tables displaying the effect that your intervention has on the street dog population size. This graph provides an estimate of the effect of your intervention on the number of intact and neutered street dogs. The table displays the change in the overall population size at the end of your intervention and at the end of your overall simulation. If the simulation extends beyond your intervention, these numbers will differ. And finally, there is a table of the estimated changes in population size. The simulation also provides estimated welfare impacts. So the welfare impact is scored on a 1 to 5 scale, where 5 indicates the highest possible welfare. This scoring is based on the proportion of dogs that are living on the streets, that are owned or are living in shelter populations. And the computer simulation also estimates the number of dogs that need to be neutered per year or per month to maintain the desired neutering coverage. This estimate can help you plan the cost of interventions. The website also provides a log of each of the simulations that you run so that you can compare different types of interventions.